Hola, mi gente, ¿cómo estás? How you doing? How you living? Whoa, okay, see what's happening. My little thing keeps adjusting. But anyways, I was trying to record a video yesterday. It was very hard. My mind was so scattered. So I'm gonna give some updates. Some of them. One is that we have Nate. We've had him for 2 weeks, and he had like almost 2 weeks without his mom, and like 2.5 weeks in total, which has been cool. It's been very cool, actually. I forget how it was when we used to keep Nate all the time from newborn to 4 years old. I had Nate on a pretty consistent basis, and so he essentially was my additional kid. He pretty much lived with me for a lot of the time, and so it was actually great. But the thing that I didn't realize was how many changes would take place in the 4 years that I haven't consistently been there. One is his willingness to try new foods. Before, when I was living out there, he used to try things. He had an open mind to trying new and different things. Also, because I'm pescatarian, a lot of the dishes that I make are different than what was used to at home. My family is more of an instant family. If it's microwavable, it's, you know, and I've just been more of, I mean, lately since work, I want to just hurry up and get things over. You won't catch me using the microwave, but I will find something a little more instant that I can just like throw together, but not so instant that it's not cooked on a stove or an oven, or in an oven. Never that. But so he does look at things a little differently. He has a basic little food group that he eats out of, which I would probably consider the processed food groups, and I'm pretty much very instant. So me trying to open him up to different foods, even if it is meat based, then he's just unwilling to try a lot of things now. So in the 4 years that I've been gone, I assume they've just been giving him instant foods, and he's now on that. We bought him a bike, so he did go out and ride the bike a couple of times. He made friends with the neighbors' kids, had a little friend group. Unfortunately, they all had to go back to school, so hopefully today and tomorrow he'll get to hang out a little bit. We took him shopping the other day, got him some toys, you know, and what else? Just been chilling with them. He asked me to watch a movie with him yesterday, and then 15 minutes later he told me I can go back to my room because apparently I wasn't watching the movie, right? So there was that. But yeah, it's been a really great time. I really enjoy it. On day 2 of being here, he decided that he wanted to sleep in the living room near his uncle, and so he's been sleeping out in the living room the entire time. It's been really cute. They have their little friendship. They had a little tiff yesterday because my nephew developed this really amazing habit, and Kevin actually talked to him about it, and then he was like coughing and stuff, and he was like, "You're making me sick, stop making me sick," and I started dying. I was like, "Yeah, Kevin, stop making me sick." Also, this week, one of Kevin's family members ended up in the hospital. At first, it was initially thought to be a heart attack. I'm glad it wasn't. It did end up being serious either way because of underlying conditions, but he is at home now, so I wish that person a speedy recovery, and I hope that everything goes well. I did offer Kevin a ticket to go back home because initially when we thought it was a heart attack, I had no idea what was going to be happening, so I did offer him a ticket to go back home. Every time I try to offer him a ticket to go back home, he never takes it. Apparently it's no good unless his family buys the ticket, because he won't go at all unless they buy it. Like, he won't buy a ticket on his own. He has the money, won't buy it on his own, but does mom buy the ticket, he'll be gone. It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know. My mom has not bought not one ticket that I went back home for, but I'm an adult, so I do adult things. I don't need to wait on my parents to do it for me. But I just thought it would be odd that I offered him this. And I mean, I guess in this situation I'm kind of glad that he didn't go back, because it could have been a situation where he ended up getting sick too. But at the same time, like, I don't know, if I hear something about my parents, I just feel like I want to go back home immediately if I can. If there's a way for me to go back immediately, I'm going back immediately. So there was that. Then it got to me to thinking. I've been thinking for probably about 3 or 4 weeks about how my interactions with people go, and I put so much emphasis on how other people felt about me, their perception of me for a while. It was a while in my life that I felt this way, and I let them determine my value. Like, they had no idea that that was what was happening, because outwardly I treated them a very different way. But internally, I was grappling with this idea of not feeling worthy because of hearing these things constantly from my ex. He would tell me things that his family would say about me, and he was going back and forth. It was like, I don't know, you ever seen like 227? Like, you gotta be of a certain age group to know about 227, like those gossip shows where there's a bunch of women and they go back and then say what she was like, I ain't want to gossip, you ain't heard it from me. And those type of shows, and he would do stuff like that. And so he was going back, telling them one thing about me, and then when they replied to whatever he said about me, he would tell me what they said. And then it was me at that moment not realizing it, but assigning a value to myself based on the things that I was hearing from people that don't even know me. Like, these people, I have been married into the family for over 20 years, but these people don't know me at all, like zero. Besides this YouTube channel where they pick up tidbits of information about me and use it and talk to my ex about it, they really don't know anything about me. And it was at that moment that everything clicked for me. Honestly, coming out here to this place that is unfamiliar to me has helped me look at so many parts of my life where I failed myself. And that was one huge part of it, was caring about people that didn't even know anything about me. And although, like, I didn't try to kiss their ass. That's not me. Never. You will never see me kissing their ass and trying to be a part of their world like that. That wasn't me. But there was that little part of me that was like, is this true of me? But then I had to realize, like, they don't even know me. They have one side of a story and they believe it to be true because it's their family member, but it's only one side of the story. If you got the whole scope of the story, you would see that there was so much more to the story than what was being told. On top of all that, there was a point in my life where I felt like I couldn't survive without him, and I felt like I wouldn't be able to make it without him. I guess it tied into the whole theory of what his family was saying about me and making me feel like I'm less than. So then I started to believe myself, like, I can't survive without him. But then after I looked at every situation and every scenario that I've gone through in my marriage, it's the other way around. He wouldn't have been able to survive without me. He heavily relies on me for everything. And so now he finds himself like not doing a lot of, well, he doesn't care, because if somebody's not telling him to do something, he doesn't have the forethought to do it himself a lot of times. So for instance, there's been this airbag situation with the car for the last 2 years maybe, and he hasn't got it fixed. And why, you ask? I don't know. It doesn't cost money. There was one time that they set it up where he would have a rental car and still didn't reschedule. Now they don't offer the rental car, and it just blows my mind, because this is dangerous. This is important. It needs to be fixed, but he's not doing it. I get text messages, and whenever I do get text messages about the airbag situation, I'm like, yo, you need to get the airbag fixed. And he'll be like, Yeah, they were really mean to me up there. I get it. Some kids don't want to play with you at the playground, but it still needs to be handled regardless, you know? Like, it has to be done whether we like it or not, and so it needs to be done. But I look at all kinds of situations, from moving here to just things that would happen in our everyday life where financially he was making my life a lot more difficult than it needed to be. It was I who was cleaning up a lot of those messes. It was me who was actually making sure that we still had everything. And there was just a lot of things that I realized I didn't need him as much as I thought I did. I didn't rely on him as much as I thought I did. And then I realized also, in every aspect of his life, I did things to make his life better by having him sign up for disability, pushing him for 100%, making sure like everything was in order for this move. Everything I did in his life, I did to make it better. However, everything he's done in my life held me back in so many ways. So he wasn't an asset, he was a liability for the majority, well, all of the relationship. He was a liability, and I was the asset. Now, he did provide financially, but if I'm 100% honest, he went to work. As far as providing financially, I would have to say on another scale, like, that wasn't happening. Yes, we lived in California and it was expensive. However, it was his money management that made it like where it was a struggle for us. And so I can't necessarily say that he provided financially, because there was a lot of struggle going on that was unnecessary. I could see if it was due to the cost of living, because part of that was it. But I would say like 80% of it was mismanagement of funds, and that could have been rectified. That could have been situated had only he had listened to me one time about following the budget or anything of that nature. Like, that could have been situated. Even still now, like, because we still do have combined resources just due to him being here still, I try to help him out financially, to tell him like, hey, do this or do that to make your life easier. He actually did it this time, so that was good. But the point is, I honestly feel like a lot better about myself when I'm looking at the things that I actually bring into what I deem to be a valuable part of a relationship. I know what I bring to the table. Had you asked me years ago, I wouldn't have known, because everybody assessed it with a monetary value. Well, not everybody, just his family. With a monetary value, but you also have to look at as you're getting older, outside of monetary, because money is not the only thing in a relationship. That is not the only driving force, and that is not why a lot of people get married, although that was a reason to be married in the past. There was prestige, and marrying into a good family was pretty much securing the bag at that point. For me, I didn't marry for money, or I definitely would have married him, because while we were dating, I saw him ask for money several different times from his family, which I felt to be very irresponsible with you having a job. So I'm like, you need to manage, and I would tell him then, and while in the dating phase, like, hey, you need to manage your money better, and like, account for things. It's not fair that you rely on your family for money when you're the one messing up your finances. But I can't really say anything, because they would give it to him, so that was on them. You know, they taught him to be irresponsible, essentially, because every time he messed up, they cleaned it up. And then he had me on the other hand, because I couldn't afford to be homeless with children, cleaning up his mess as well. But they bred this irresponsibility in him, because they didn't ever tell him no. He would go out and he would tell me like, I blew money at the club, but watch this. And he would call and be like, I need $600. Like, really mean, dude. Like, really mean. And they would send it. I thought that was crazy. I thought that was crazy. But it happened several different times. So I was like, this is their dynamic and this is how it happens. He said that he's better with it, but this year I saw differently. So I don't know. I felt some type of way. I mean, he does try to scapegoat situations into making it like as if it were me or something like that, but I'm like, it's not. But if it makes them feel better, like that he blames it on me, then more power to them. But the truth shall set you free. I mean, he said he speaks the truth when he went out there, but I know how his truth goes. It is very little of the truth, and the majority of it is a lot of fluff. So yeah, there's a lot of blaming. He'll take you back to 1965 to make it so that it's a little like, oh, well, you did this to me back in the day type thing. And so it just, I don't know. It's very interesting how he handles his truths. But the point of all of this is to say you have to know your value within yourself. You can't let anybody else assign that value to you. You have to know in yourself, in your heart, like what your worth is. You have to know that no matter what anybody else thinks or feels about you, that those things are not true. You can't rely on other people to build you up. You need to be at that point where you've built up yourself. You have to know those things. Because had I kept believing everything that he was telling me that his family was saying, I just feel like I would have been a lot worse off. I did feel bad about myself. It reflected on how I looked, how I treated myself, all that stuff, what priority I was in my own life, and I wasn't even on there. It was him, it was the kids, it was my family, it was essentially everything else, and then me way at the bottom somewhere. So I saw a lot of that. When I look back at videos from the start of YouTube, I saw that I was wearing a lot of my unhappiness and not even realizing it, because I was so used to wearing a mask and looking happy despite what was going on. And it wasn't for outside people, it was for my kids. I didn't want them to think anything was ever going wrong or anything was like we were just always happy. They got older, they realized that their dad wasn't a part of their life for real. He used work as an excuse as to why he wasn't a part of their lives, but plenty of people go to work and still maintain family time. What it always felt like to me was we were the work. Instead of the job being the work, it was us that was the work. So spending time with his family was the work, and then work was work. I don't know, but either way, it was we were the work. And so we'd look at the situation when I look back at it and be like, he essentially felt like we were the burden, like we were the ones that he couldn't deal with at the end of the day, when we were supposed to be the ones that made the day better. But he would do everything in his power not to be around us. And he did have to work out. I'll give him that, because he's a little on the shorter side, so any amount of weight with the military does, you know, with these measurements and all that stuff that they would do, it throws you off. So he did have to work out, and as a family we did like do things together, but not really on that scale. He didn't play with the kids on that level or anything. I wish I would have followed my instinct, in which what I told him when we first got separated is I would rather the kids see two parents not together happy versus two parents together and miserable. And I should have stuck with that, because I know I could have been in a further place of my healing, and I could have been in a further place just period, because he held me back from so many things, like so much in life, and I allowed it. But I mean, it's neither here nor there now. There's not much I can do about it. With regard to the direction of our relationship, I think on Wednesday I heard from my attorney. They're sending me the paperwork. We're supposed to get it notarized, and then I'm supposed to pay the filing fees, and we can essentially call it quits. He's been fighting back on it with words. Like, he just talks every day about it, but I'm still moving forward with it. It just, for me, it's a piece of my healing and a part of me that needs to close this chapter, because it holds no value to me anymore, and I don't know that it ever did I feel like it was more of an obligation than it was something that I wanted to be a part of, because I never wanted to be married. It wasn't my goal. But then once I did get married, I committed 100% to doing my very best to maintaining a positive relationship. But you can't do that with somebody that had a toxic upbringing and keep saying like, well, this happened in my childhood, and if they're gonna live in their childhood, you don't have any future with them because they're way back there. And because he's not very driven, he's not very motivated to do anything outside of just working. Like, he doesn't have real goals. He talks like anybody would hear him, you would be like, wow, he's really educated, he has a lot of goals and ambition. But if you see how he spends his time, you can tell that he just isn't really, he just talks about it. He sees things on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, says the same information back to you, and then it'll make you think that he knows a lot more than what he does, but he won't do anything with the information. He'll just send it to you. I do wish him the best, and I do hope that he does find himself. I think he will grow so much more as a person if he has to rely on himself versus everyone else. However, losing me is not going to be just it for him. He still has his family to rely on, and you should be able to rely on your family to some degree. But if they don't hold you accountable to learn from your mistakes, then they're just holding you back. And so that's my thing. And my family was like, we were fighting against stuff, we were trying to help him grow, and then, you know, on the other side it just was different. So, you know, it is, and that's why it's hard for growth. So I'm hoping in this time he would actually really grow. He might do a lot better without me, and that's because he won't have somebody to pick him up when he's drowning. He might do so much better, you know, and I hope that for him. But I just can't go back to something that was very toxic to me, painful, hurtful. And when he tries to say nice things to me, it's so uncomfortable because it's stuff I didn't hear in the relationship. So I'm super uncomfortable when he says it, and he's like, "Wow, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, imagine going 20 years not hearing positive anything from your partner until like you do something and they see the results of that thing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was with you the whole time." No, you weren't. You were fighting me and making it harder for me the whole time, and that's what you were doing. But whatever. Looking in, people thought that he orchestrated the whole move. I pushed him to apply to the job out here. I pushed for the house. I did all the paperwork. I paid for everything. I did everything. So yeah, no, he didn't help. He didn't even pack one box in the move. Nothing at all. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Yeah, so it's the time where it's almost 4 years where we've been in the home. I started realizing and looking back at the whole moving process out here, everything, and this is what made me start thinking about, I am the asset. No matter how anyone else makes me feel, I don't know what it is, but it feels like, I don't know, that I am the asset. I bring stuff to the table. I have things to offer, and I just wasn't with the right person. And that's all that was. It's okay. You can go so much further if you're with the right person. But if you're in a relationship where you find that you have to keep pushing someone to do more, and it's essentially you puppet mastering that person's life, you're only going to get as far as they're willing to let you push them, and then you're going to be stagnant. So you just have to like ask yourself, do I want to keep pushing this person in the direction that I want to go? I'd rather have somebody walk alongside me, jog alongside me, run alongside me, versus me pushing them the entire way. 2 heads are better than 1. You can get so much more done if you have somebody that's at least on your level or above your level. I definitely want someone that's like ahead of me by eons. They could teach me things. I'm not gonna lie, I get intimidated sometimes, but I just feel like the only way to grow is to go through uncomfortable things and learn through those processes. So I'm willing to learn through those processes and learn those things. It's just that sometimes I'm like, this is painful. But learning value and self-worth and self-love from people is interesting. I gotta check the time. Oh my god, 30 minutes before work. It's just an interesting concept in itself. I find that I am just a lot more willing to be uncomfortable because I know I can get a lot further that way. So I just challenge you all to break out of your comfort zone and learn something new. And if you're with somebody that you constantly feel like you're pushing in a certain direction, just reevaluate if this is what you want for the rest of your life. Because if that person's unwilling to walk in the direction with you, you're going to constantly have to deal with that. And it's not fun. I didn't realize how much pushing I was doing. He made it sound like it was me. I do remember distinctly one time he was like, yeah, she's scared to leave her family. Now, in the younger years of my children, I'm not gonna front on that. Like when they were young, I wanted the support. So, but he didn't want to move. So he made it seem like he wanted to make moves, but he wasn't trying to move. Every time we had the opportunity to move, I think at 7, he had an opportunity to work with, I believe, the Marines, Army. I don't know. It was out in the desert in Barstow somewhere. And I was actually okay with that move. So then he pleaded with them to come back home. Like at first when I saw it, I was like, no. But then I saw the prices of the homes out there, and then I was like, I can do that. I can do that because I can build off of that. And so if essentially it was no at first for me, then I started looking at what benefits would have came with actually being in that environment. And then I was like, yeah, let's go. And now he was like, oh no, he pleaded to stay here. So there wasn't ever a point that he was like, let's move here or let's move there. He never said that. Please believe that. He never actually said those words. It was never a plan of his. He was just as afraid to leave my family. And so that's a lot of the times that we stayed, because by the time Kimano was 6 and Taj was 4, I was ready to leave because I wanted a house for them. So that's when I was ready to leave. And it was from that point forward that it was all kinds of like me having to plead with him about leaving or finding somewhere else, and he never did. But I just distinctly remember his dad being like, she's afraid to be without her family. Well, yes, I was being abused. I didn't want to be without my family. And coming out here just showed me why I couldn't be without my family, to be honest with you, because I was going through abuse when I was around my family. But it was I just don't know. I didn't say a lot, didn't tell a lot, and I didn't do a lot. So it was my own fault that I wasn't out of the situation because I was scared a lot. And when I did tell them the situation, I was scared to move back home and be stuck. And so I was trying to figure out the lesser of two evils. I mean, he went to work and I didn't have to see him for X amount of hours a day. So I was like, well, I can deal with this. You know, I only got to deal with him a couple hours, and mathematically in the equation, it seemed better than going back home. It was probably not the best idea, but that was how my brain worked at that time. I definitely wish I would have just regathered myself and went home for a while. And just, you know, you suffer for a little bit and then you would get on your way. But I saw a situation in my family where one relative came back home and never left again, so I kind of got scared, like, what if that happens to me? So it just like, I'll stay out, I'm fine. But yeah, that just always stood out to me, like that comment that was made. And I was like, he wasn't offering to move anywhere or go anywhere, so me being scared had nothing really to do with it. The only opportunity we had was the Barstow situation, and I was the only one. So and if you saw their city page, there was a freaking, what do you call it, tumbleweed on the front of it. Like there was nothing going on but this tumbleweed. But anyway, it was funny. It looks a lot different now when I look at it, and the home values have went up immensely. So I missed out on something. Wish we would have went, but he wanted to stay in San Diego. Anyways, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for listening to my rant. Always take care of yourself, love yourself, value yourself, and speak positive energy into yourself and positive affirmations, because you are all you have at the end of the day. You can't rely on anybody else for happiness. Only can be an addition to your happiness. So yeah, and you can only be as strong as your weakest link. So make sure you find somebody that is willing to go the extra mile for you and with you. Love you. Bye.